crisis. Never ever is there so much madness. Surprising both the young and the old. Everybody gone out of control. The moral fabric of a society disappear. And half all of mankind living in fear. The situation they claim is same everywhere. But some telling me they think it was right here. Politicians lying, values they forgetting. Look when one man suggesting to carry cook, we could build a tunnel. And next man say vote for him. From standpipe something you could be drinking. But let me tell you one thing, all of them like Millie butt sucking. So we pray, a society won't last because morality is a thing of the past. Yes, we pray to turn back. We might just turn some pillars of salt, cause memories of Lot seem to be standing right in a pot. Yes, we pray, our society won't last because morality is a thing of the past. But I told them all is not lost. You still have women like Kelly and Ross and other women of class to ensure we build on the past. Oh. There is still hope. With me, the people, they start to argue how I could use a queen to measure value. I said I judge her on what I could see, and if I get a chance, I'm married with she. With all the honor and respect, I salute her. Look how majestic she represents Grenada. Without a doubt, she won the judge's favor. Was a woman of class in Dominica, but even with the Queen of England, his big confusion. Look, Prince Charles and Diana holding on to a divorce paper. Values are no longer even in the highest order. Everything going under, and like the devil we're taking over. So we pray, our society won't last because morality is a thing of the past. Yes, we pray to turn back. We might just turn some pillars of salt, cause memories of Lot seem to be standing right in a pot. Yes, we pray, society won't last because morality is a thing of the past. But I told them all is not lost. You still have Steve McAllister's Bonaparte and Junior Murray's class to inspire us from the past. Oh. Tyson, and just now we go discuss O.J. Simpson. What's about Magic and Ben Johnson? Bubble use the stars to measure value yourself in every little good. There is also evil. The officer man who will never let it fool you. You see, the most renowned of our role models, boy, like good qualities so few. He's raping and scraping, and of murder they accuse him. Those we are modeling, so in the wrong direction we going. But yeah, we're raping with treachery. Yes, we pray to turn back, but we might just turn some pillars of salt, cause memories of blood seem to be standing right in a park. Oh, yes, we pray a society won't last, because morality is a thing of the past. But I told them all is not lost. With a new prime minister here at last, questions might be asked. Are you prepared to build on the past? Oh, 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 oh. There is still hope.
Tell them, oh, they say it's censorship, they putting in with tail, and men like me and this year go take a jail. But I ain't afraid powder when I play in mass. This year when I sing in me song, I pepper in it. They had a belly, really, they had a belly, they had a belly. So and so, they had a belly, they had a belly. We didn't say they had a belly, they just jump in. They had a belly, I find they had a belly, I find they had a belly. When they do the wrong things, the country pay the price. But they want me to use me tongue and sing grenade and nice. But tell them I am here to help the country out, and to stop me they had to put a handcuff on me mouth. They had a belly. 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 More pressure. Get this. When Uncle Gary passed onto the great beyond, I feel so ashamed to see how we politicians get on. But no, everybody know they dirty secret. Grenadian politicians, they too bloody hypocrite. They had a belly. When Gary was alive, oh God, Gary was blind, but he was man. Now we dead, working class champion, father of the nation. All the this thing unbearable, he driving me insane. I touch me switch only to find that current gone again. Boy, I ain't really know why they acting so strange. When NDC sell girl like for them for us, so I change. They had a belly. All me mix spoil. Fridge gone, TV gone. Oh God, what we gonna do? They had a belly. I find they had a belly. Socialists, you know, important. He has some men out there, and they're big destroy. He's holding down and raping little girl and little boy. But it is time the law stop this thing for good. Any man will commit that crime, they should cut out it. They had a belly. I find they had a belly. They have belly, but they shoot not up.
heavy belly.
You don't have that.
He heavy belly.
Where you getting that?
He heavy belly.
Swipe my door and don't bring anybody.
He heavy
Or
belly.
you sing the right
He
thing.
heavy belly.
You don't have.
He heavy belly.
Where you getting that? Fly bird. Power is in your belly, not in the throat.
They had a belly.
Breeze on.
They had a belly.
Waldron.
They had a belly.
Spaceman.
They had a belly.
Uh-huh.
They had a belly.
Grace, you.
They had a belly.
Lick the black boy too.
They had a belly.
Carnival.
They had a belly. They had a belly.
Watch pocket on.
They had a belly. They had a belly. They had a belly.
Innocent bullet, your family big. Small island people, they all related. I bounced up this guy with you from New York. He started to give me this family talk. His last name was Bullen, his first name was Fred. Throughout the island he told me the family spread. At first I didn't want to believe him. When he tell me type he was Bullen, he mentioned the fellow on the dock. And no one knew that for a fact. I had to take in the old talk when he started to trace the family back. Oh, that day when we landed in Point Salin, who you think that came and received him? Tighty Bullen, Tighty Bullen. Man, I went with them to the city. There we met one of the family, Tighty Bullen, Tighty Bullen. DJ Punkin kicking like a mad. Who get away on the Esplanade? Ray Bullen, Ray Bullen. Man, there's plenty bullying in the area. Oh, give me music. Man, a sexy German girl on holiday. Me and my partner masters met she in lobby. She eyes to let the ocean bright as the sun. With a sexy touching kind of German twang. She says she loves soca and she love it bad. The family bias bad. At first I didn't want to believe she when she said who was she family. She said she cannot understand she family and a woman. She going and tell she mommy as soon as she touch down in Germany. Oh, yeah. Oh, you think that was your family? When that German girl start to tell me, Tommy just bullying, Tommy just bullying. She say only pass she was passing that day when she hear people saying, try bullying, try bullying. She say in the market she passing when she hear everybody saying, Exodus bullying, Exodus bullying. Man, there's plenty bullying in the area. Oh, come on, go. And I set it out an investigation to know who was pulling and who was left behind. I was interested in the whole history and who spearheaded this big family. A 90-year-old man make me understand it was Charles and Gavi, Spranger's family. They say Charles and Gavi two sisters married to these two bullying brothers. They grow up and love one another. They're calling each other brother. If you want to help solve the mystery, go on a Charles and Mr. Gavi. Oh, because Tidy bullying, market, I hear it on the street. Fellows name it bullying and keeping it secret. At first I didn't want to believe it.
Hey, Cinco, how come you see that decent crowd of people in party again? You wanna know why? Hey, Cinco, how come you see that decent crowd of people in party again? You wanna know why? Well, I'm gonna let me little brother tell them why.
No one is in party, it's a less shocky. Before our music start, they will live on the top. They giving you a chance to get a little dance. It she belong to you, but tonight she will it too. And I the same song over and over.
Pull up. Every tune is wheel up, wheel up, wheel up. Every song is pull up, pull up, pull up. Every tune is wheel up, wheel up, wheel up. Every song is pull up, pull up, pull up. A wheel up, wheel up. A pull up, pull up. A wheel up, wheel up. A wheel up, wheel up. A pull up, pull up. A wheel up, wheel up.
It's not radio, when no they win this song. You must say that it's true, whenever the song is new. If the song is up, man, they win it from the top. They giving you a chance to listen a song and dance.
Pull up. Every tune is wheel up, wheel up, wheel up. Every song is pull up, pull up, pull up. Every tune is wheel up, wheel up, wheel up. Every song is pull up, pull up, pull up. A wheel up, wheel up. A pull up, pull up. A wheel up, wheel up. A wheel up, wheel up. A pull up, pull up. A wheel up, wheel up. Tiny, oh, you wicked so man. Every tune is wheel up, wheel up, wheel up. Every song is pull up, pull up, pull up. Every tune is wheel up, wheel up, wheel up. Every song is pull up, pull up, pull up. A wheel up, wheel up. A pull up, pull up. A wheel up, wheel up. Bling, ring. Cell phone ring. But nobody not answering. What? Is this a mama give something? What we can find out? Put up your cellular, raise up your cellular. For when I call, you must answer, girl. When I call, you must answer, girl. When I call, you must answer, girl. When you think it's now I'm calling, but you're just not answering. What you take me for? What you take me for? You have me wondering why. If it was a mama guy, what you take me for? What you take me for? You giving me your number. When I call, you never answer. What you take me for? What you take me for? So when I call, you must answer, girl. When I answer the cellular. Tell me what you take me for. Answer the cellular. Tell me what you take me for. Answer the cellular. Tell me what you take me for. Answer the cellular. You have your caller ID, so all numbers you don't see. What you take me for? What you take me for? When you see certain numbers, you refusing to answer. What you take me for? What you take me for? You leave the phone to ring to get the answering machine. What you take me for? What you take me for? So when I call, you must answer. When I answer the cellular. Tell me what you take me for. Answer the cellular. Tell me what you take me for. Answer the cellular. Tell me what you take me for. Answer the cellular. When I leave my name and number, you ain't even responding. What you take me for? What you take me for? But with you 2 days later, it's excuses you making. What you take me for? What you take me for? I was washing in the yard on my phone, eating a phone card. What you take me for? What you take me for? So when I call, you must answer. So when I answer the cellular. Tell me what you take me for. Answer the cellular. Tell me what you take me for. Answer the cellular. Tell me what you take me for. Answer the cellular. cellular. Put up the cellular. Answer the cellular. Tell me where you take me for. Answer the cellular. Tell me where you take me for. Answer the cellular. Tell me where you take me for. Answer the cellular. Answer the cellular. Tell me where you take me for. Answer the cellular. Tell me where you take me for. Who goes there? Who goes there?
Wave your national color, wave your national flag. Let them know that we get right. Every conscious of God. Wave your national color, wave your national flag. Let them know that we get right. Every conscious of God.
Flag on the head, flag on the head, flag on the head, flag on the back, flag on the pole, flag on the street, flag on the table that they eat, flag on the left, flag on the right, flag on the day, flag on the night, flag on the link, flag on ceiling, flag on the eagle that passing. Is the most flags the madman ever see. On a 32nd anniversary. When I see flags, so I hold me head and ball. I could not believe I thought was Carnival. It was at 7 o'clock in the morning. Everybody started gathering, dressed up in the red, yellow, and green. Down the evening, whether or not they had like it or not, everybody turn a patriot, which remind me of Maurice Bishop when he won stand up.
Wave your national color, wave your national flag. Let them know that we get right. Every conscious of God. Wave your national color, wave your national flag. Let them know that we get right. Every conscious of God.
Flag on the head, flag on the hand, flag on the top, flag on the back, flag on the pole, flag on the street, flag on the table that they eat, flag on the left, flag on the right, flag in the day, flag on the night, flag on building, flag on ceiling, flag on vehicle that passing. Ever conscious of God we aspire, just to rebuild Spice Island, Grenada. Despite the aid that we get from overseas, we have to work hard to fix it properly. Everyone who visit Grenada talk about how well we recover, want to use us as a formula for the disaster. Nobody they care about party, everybody care about country, so we have to bring the people to signal unity.
Wave your national color, wave your national flag. Let them know that we get right. Every conscious of God. Wave your national color, wave your national flag. Let them know that we get right. Every conscious of God.
Flag on the head, flag on the hand, flag on the top, flag on the back, flag on the pole, flag on the street, flag on the table that they eat, flag on the left, flag on the right, flag on the day, flag on the night, flag on the link, flag on ceiling, flag on vehicles that passing. Wave your national, wave your national, let them know that you
Every conscious of God.
wave your national, wave your national, let them know that you
Every conscious of God.
Who goes there? Yeah, inside the one and only original master mixer Zingo, the original crazy man, mad as a bad, yeah. What you mean? What you mean? This is the time for unity. What you mean? Too much war. For so long, we've been living in division. War and hate, amongst race and nation. Black versus white, Negro versus Indian. Red versus brown, Arabs versus Asian. Racial war, racial discrimination. Time to show the world we could unite and live as one because it is time to unite. Tell them it is. What time it is? Lord, Lord, I'm tired of the watching, the cussing and the fighting. I just cannot take this thing. No more, no more, no more, no more. Worries and corruption, back and all in every land. I want it to show.
Jumping, jumping, jumping up. Jumping, jumping, jumping up. Jumping, jumping, jumping up.
Time to unite. Tell them it is. Time to unite. What time it is? Put your rag in the air now. Put your flag in the air now. Lord, Lord. Not only we just
And a good night to you, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Once again, it is time for Talking Points. My name, Sheldon Scott. I will be with you up until the 10 o'clock hour. It's now 4 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock on the Spice Isle of Grenada. Let me say a special good night to you all, Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Our good friends in the Grenadine Islands listening in. That's Union Island, Bequia. Yeah, saying a special good night to all of you. Yeah, even those of you on PSV who tune in as well. Yes, Zayla, you're getting it early tonight. Good night to you, Zayla. Good night to you, Xavier. And good night to you, Zoe. We're going early with the young ones tonight, yeah. We need a bit of positivity around it. You all do fine, yeah. The place kind of heavy every day. Yeah, by the time you reach home, the night you hear about this. 2 nights are leaving the studio, and by the time you're heading home, you're hearing they find this one dead. You hear they find. Oh, come on, man. Yeah, we need a little positivity.
Put your rag in the air now. Put your flag in the air now. Put your rag in the air now. Put your flag in the air now.
And yeah, of course, I want to send a musical message to all the young ones out there, especially, well, everyone, not just the young ones, because we tend to think that all the negative activity are just the young ones. No, not just the young ones, but I want to send a musical message out there. So I must play this one, huh? And you're going to find I'm playing this one a lot, huh? And believe me, every radio station should have this one on rotation, huh? Yeah, dig in your archives, pull it out.
All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, we don't have to live like this. No. All we want is unity and peace.
So let me say a good night to you, Charmaine, Dena, Jamari Auntie, right, Sherry, Denny, Shawnell, Cindy, Leonard. And let me see who else is there. Maudlin, good night to you, and Cynthia and Bernadette. Shami, good night, girl. And let me see, Rodney, Claude, Jillian, good night to you. Denise, Earl, good night. Landon, see you there. Yolan, good night. Christelle, good night. Christelle, I will never see you last night. I ain't too sure, you know. Maybe I didn't pay too much attention. Lynn, good night to you. Anna Lewis, good night. Mavis, good night to you. John, and I'm seeing Carol Celestine, good night to you. Kishon McSween, good night. Tora St. John, good night. Cindy, good night. Small Axe, out of bus, you're tuning a little while again too, brother. Good night to you. Nice. Jill, good night. Let me see, Joan. Dr. Panchu. Yes, Dr. Panchu, you had to give me a call in tonight. Nice. Yeah, I would have preferred to do it on Zoom and I try and set up the Zoom. So we want to take a direct call from you tonight, Dr. Panchu. Nice, right. Somebody tap Dr. Panchu. You have to call. Nice. Laslin, good night to you. Cicely, Marianne, Anne Salandi, good night to you. Yvonne Courtney, good night. Tora St. John, good night. Marilyn Ferguson, good night to you. And Delicia, hey, what's up, girl? Hey, how is everything? And Keda, good night to you. And of course, Amisha, I know that you're listening. By now you're tuning in already too. So a good night to you, Amisha. Yes, and JJ, good night, boy. Nice. Natalia, JJ, behave there. Right, nice. Natalia, good night to you. Maria, Eliza, Oswald, Andrea, Kelvin, Winnie, Public Notice, Denise, Vanessa, Gavin, Anne-Marie, Michelle Alexander, Alan Jones, good night to you. I say good night to Zoe already, right? Nice. Yeah, Zoe's so important. Zoe and Zayla and Xavier, they're getting it twice. Nice, right? Yeah. So, Cosville, good night. Devin, Amanda, Janice, Jesse, Sherry, good night. Dominic, Maud, Alcy, Kathleen, Jen, Errol, Edlin, Christine, Gertrude, Abraham, Jamari, grandmother, good night. Anna Barbara, good night to you. Deborah, Sherma, Jeremiah, Stephanie, John, good night. Margot, good night to you. And Clive and Gemma Warwood. Jocelyn Mathlin. Hey, where's my partner Matthew? I haven't seen Matthew yet. Let me see. Ann Andrews, Listra, good night. Alban, good night to you. Hey, look, Matthew Bowen there, man. Yeah, man. You're there, man. Nice. Hermina, Maria, right, New Kid, and let me see, Roland and Kathleen Ledlow, Faith Lynn, Hallie Douglas, Anastasia, good night. Hillary Joseph, good night. Wilfred, good night to you. All right, Cousin Londa Coy, I know you're somewhere around there. I haven't seen you, but I know that you're somewhere there. So good night to you. And Veronica Magdalene, good night to all, each and every one of you. Yeah, I hope that you all are having a wonderful night tonight.
All we want is unity and peace.
Joyce, good night.
We don't have to live like these.
Let me get the WhatsApp up here. The WhatsApp machine restarted on me. And this thing does happen, man.
Hey, in the party, we don't have to live like these. No, no.
So Dr. Panchu, give me a call, please. Folks, again, we were greeted, well, last night, about an hour after I got home, was once again greeted with some unfortunate news of a young person taking their life. Another beautiful young lady gone to the great beyond. Yeah? And it seems as though it is becoming a trend. And as I said last night and I've said before, I don't want us in Grenada to become desensitized to these things. We must still feel overwhelmed. And I'm saying that in the best of ways when these things happen, because then we would all try to find ways to ensure that they do not repeat themselves. Yeah? For instance, I have friends who I speak to on a constant basis. There are many people that I speak to nearly daily. And sometimes if I don't hear them, I would call them or they would call me and we speak on a daily basis. And we have this misconception. And I was speaking with a good friend of mine who has been down this road before. I was speaking with them. And they were speaking about people when you're going through a hard time. And there's this misconception among a lot of people that you've got to call the person and speak about what is bothering them. And in my view, that's a kind of misconception. Yeah? Sometimes people just want somebody to speak to. It doesn't have to be about what bothering them, you know. Sometimes I speaking to a friend of mine and I would realize, hey, something troubling that person. That's why they call. They just need somebody to talk to. And we may talk about all sorts of things. We may talk about culture. We may talk about some lime that we had years ago. We hang out here or wherever it is. We may talk about music. We may talk about anything. Sometimes people just need somebody to talk to. Sometimes it's not necessarily that they want to talk about what is troubling them. And sometimes in talking about all those sort of things, what they are doing is really working out what is troubling them. They're working it out. So sometimes indirectly, they may be speaking to you about what the problem is. And we have to learn as well to be confidential. You know, too many times we're looking on social media and so on, and we see two people who were friends before that have fallen out, and you realize one person just start to say all kind of thing about the other person that they know, that the person told them in full confidence. They just start to spill the beans on the individual. And I think that in itself, because our society now has changed and continues to change with the advent of social media, we've changed as a people. And then now, with the advent of AI, artificial intelligence, along with social media, even without us knowing, we are again being changed. And I don't necessarily mean for the better. Yeah, but we again being changed. And sometimes people just simply need somebody that they could say hello to. And sometimes you have to be that person. Sometimes I might be busy as hell, you know. I might be trying to listen over some clips. I might be trying to pay attention to something, a live program. It may be a call-in program or so. One of the ministers are there or something and I'm trying to pay attention to it. And somebody calls. And I know, hey, yeah, you're listening to that now, you know. But you know you could go back to that. The next hour it's there. It's online, whatever. You could go back to it. It's not like the 1980s when you miss it on television, if you didn't have a VCR or a beta to tape it, that it's gone. No, everything is online now. You could go and you could view it later. And so I might sometimes stop what I'm doing. And just because you realize this person has called you, not because they want anything from you, not because they need anything from you, not just to trouble you, but they just need somebody to talk to. And I'm saying to all of us, sometimes, or as much as you can, be that person that people can talk to. Again, they might not necessarily be talking to you about what is troubling them, but you for yourself, if you're wise and perceptive enough, can know, hey, something troubling that individual. But sometimes they just ain't ready to talk about it yet, but they need to just have a conversation with another human being. You know, back in the days, I know people that just to hear somebody used to call, take up the landline. Those days were mostly landline. Would take up the landline and just call a number and see if somebody answer, and sometimes try to engage the people in a conversation just because they need somebody to talk to. There are people who went so far as to call operator just because they needed to hear another human voice and have a conversation with them. Seriously. There are people who used to call the operator just because they needed to speak to somebody else. Yeah? So I'm not saying that that is the full solution to what is happening. I'm not saying that that is the perfect solution to what has been taking place with these recent suicides that we've been seeing and so on, alleged suicides that we've been seeing. Yeah? I'm not saying that that is the beginning and end all. But I'm saying from speaking to people who have been at that point before, one of the things that they have said is sometimes you just need somebody to talk to. Yeah? It could be a stranger sometimes, but sometimes you just need somebody to talk to. Yeah? So I'm saying to all of us, don't get so tied up in life that you can't find the time to speak with somebody. Yeah? And talk to them about all kind of things. Carnival, come in, talk to them. Just have a conversation with them. Yeah? Have a call online. Hello, good night. Hello, good night.
Good night. Well done.
Hi, good night. Doc?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you so very much for calling, sir. No, I'm sorry that I didn't contact you early enough to get you via Zoom. I'd have preferred to have you on via Zoom tonight.
Yeah, that would have been nice, but let's do the best we can with the instruments that we have tonight.
Yes, so I'm going to ask everyone else to hold the phone call so it won't interrupt the conversation I want to have with Dr. Panchu. Now, Dr. Panchu, we have been seeing the situation of late, and in my view, one suicide is one too much. But for this year, I think it's becoming on a monthly basis. It's becoming too much of a regular occurrence. First of all... Absolutely.
Let me say this here, Sheldon, and our listeners, our faithful listeners, and those who happen to just tuned in tonight. It does seem as though we're losing lives on a regular basis, either through violent crimes. Even last night, I understand we lost a 51-year-old gentleman from St. David, in addition to the suicide we had last night. So we had two unfortunate demise of Grenadians.
If you're referring to the gentleman in St. David in the garden, that was night before.
Oh, the night before.
The night before. And yesterday morning you had shooting.
Right.
You had a shooting yesterday. The person, I have no information that states that the person who got shot died, but we had a shooting yesterday morning.
There was a shooting. So so dead or not, I tell them, it speaks to violence. Violence against people. And when we lose that, then let me also say, those two people who lost their lives, and we're alleging at this time, since investigations are going on to determine the true nature of the loss of life, a reason for the loss of life. So by now we'll say it's alleged suicide.
Yes, of course.
Even if it is a suicide, it is a violence against a person. In other words, yourself, because that's what happens. So what we when we lose, I just want to paraphrase. I just want to set the tone for the discussion tonight. When we lose is to when we lose our sense of safety to violence and violent crime, we are in deep trouble as a people. I want to lay this down. We are in danger as a people. So what we saw a couple of days apart with the loss of two young ladies is sort of unprecedented, Sheldon. It's what we refer to in the field of sociology as anomaly. This is not normal. But also we look at the instrument, alleged instrument for the loss of life, and that is hanging, using a rope, using something to hang oneself. What the research shows is that females do not have a habit of taking their lives through this sort of lethal way. Females usually opt for overdose of pills or slashing wrists. Those are the two primary ways that females attempt suicide. Now, let me hasten to add here. Among the female population, the female gender, they attempt suicide much more than males. However, males commit suicide much more than females. So females attempt, but males succeed. And males succeed because they use very, very aggressive and lethal ways. They use guns, they use insecticide, weedicide, herbicide. They jump from tall buildings, and they hang themselves. Females go for the softer side of trying to take their lives through overdose of pills most of the time, and some have used poison and then slashing of the wrist. Okay? But what we saw there speaks to two things. One, the frequency. Okay, so you had one, and within a week you had another, and also the means of doing it, hanging. So this is not normally what we have. So we ask ourselves, is that a trend that we're seeing, or is it? There is something also. Before we continue with the discussion, I want to introduce. There is in the field of social psychology a phenomenon called copycat syndrome. Okay, and the copycat syndrome is something that I'm looking at as a social scientist right now. You know, take for instance the very first alleged suicide that we had last week. It's a young lady. It's a beautiful young lady. It's a career-oriented lady, very successful. Is a socialite. She comes from a family of well-means, a well-to-do family. She lives in a very, very, affluent part of Grenada landscape. And it is alleged that she succeeded at taking her life. And the copycat syndrome simply says someone looking at her with stresses in their lives or mental health challenges or what illnesses. We don't know, and we never will know what causes someone to take their life, because after all, when their life is over, they have no answer to give. You understand what I'm saying? So we could only speculate, we can make conjecture as to why, because there are some established conditions that lend itself to someone taking their life. So the copycat syndrome simply says, you look at this person who have taken their life, and you ask yourself, well, if they could, why can't I do the same? Because two things happen generally with people who bring themselves to take their lives. One, they feel hopeless. two, they feel helpless. Hopeless because they look at their condition, whatever that may be, whatever the stressor of life is, and they say to themselves, I can't see any light at the end of the tunnel. And helpless simply means, it's not simple, but I'm saying that it means that they're saying there is no one else in this world that can help me navigate this life stressor that I'm experiencing. And as a result, I am going to choose to end it. End it. So this is setting the tone here for the discussion tonight, Sheldon.
No.
I know that there are many people who have a bunch of questions and maybe even suggestive of solutions also. But suicide as a finality that you can't come back from. And this is what is sort of heart-wrenching when you look at young people with vibrancy and a full life ahead of them resorting to taking their lives. It begs something of society. It begs something of us as leaders and as practitioners and clinicians. How do we help society? How do we minimize the risk of suicide? How do we help people, not just young people, but adults as well, to navigate the stresses of life?
Now, let me ask this question. What are some of the signs that a person might be heading in that direction? Because you, as a trained person, may be able to easily pick that up. Us out here, we might be the relatives, we might be the friends, we might be the co-workers of an individual who is seeking to head that direction. What are some of the signs that might indicate that person is heading that direction mentally?
There are several telltale signs of a person that might be in distress. But let me add, before I tell you about some of the signs that people can pick up on, let me also say there is a myth that says that some people believe that if someone takes his or her life, then that person is mentally ill. And that is only a myth. There might be some truth to some cases, but you can't use it across the board and say anyone who commits suicide or attempt to hurt themselves is mentally ill. Let me say this here. Yes, people experience what we refer to in the field of psychology as a psychotic break. What does that mean? That means you're going about your life normal as much as everybody else, and you experience a traumatic event, and that can cause you to break emotionally and psychologically. I mean, the death of a spouse or a loved one, an accident. You know, last 2 years ago, Sheldon, I don't know if you recall, but I think it was either in 2020, a 74-year-old who was hospitalized, a male, jumped from the hospital balcony in one of the windows to his death. And you know why he did? He did so because he received from the doctors, after much testing, a diagnosis of a terminal illness. Now, they didn't say what the terminal illness was because of privacy issues, but he learned the day that they gave him the diagnosis of a terminal illness, he saw hopelessness and helplessness. And at 74, when he should be enjoying the rest of his days, he chose to jump. Now, necessarily, he does not have a mental illness. It is just trauma and the shock associated with that news that he got. So let's go back now to the very first substantive question that you asked. What are some of the telltale signs? How do people see? How do people recognize? And how do they know? Sometimes it is easy to see the symptoms, and sometimes it is not so easy. I recall the case of Robin Williams, the famous actor and comedian. Robin Williams went about making the world laugh. Every single one of his movies, whether it is Mrs. Doubtfire or Dr. Pop, He just made his audience laugh. But what did his family say about him? When he went home after touring the world, after making all the big Hollywood movies, he would go back to his home and he would be a recluse. He was inside. He was depressed. He was clinically depressed. They saw the signs. They knew that he had a mental health issue. They saw the signs and they were unable to help him not reach to the point where he committed suicide. What are some of the symptoms? I am taking a lot of time to them, but let me
No, no,
say
no.
this.
This is important. This
Yes,
might save
I
a
think
life.
so.
So take the
I
time.
really do think so. One, isolation. If you see the person that you're monitoring or that you're looking on, they were vivacious, full of life, and sociable, and then you see them into a period where they isolate. They don't want to come out of their room. They don't want to go to the functions, to the family gathering, to the beach. They're isolating. You start asking yourself, is something wrong? Is it abnormal? Is it not normal? Secondly, in addition to isolation, maybe the person's sleep is affected. They may be sleeping too much, or maybe they do not have the appetite for sleep as much as they used to. They probably could say to you, I can survive on 1 hour sleep. Start asking yourself and telling yourself, maybe there is something here that needs to be looked at.
So wait,
Eating,
one quick one there. So it's not
Yes.
just lack of sleep; it's also sleeping too much as well. So
Yes,
it could be
yes,
either
you're right.
or, either or in
Yes.
the extreme.
Yes, either or in the extreme. We call that negative symptom. So if they're sleeping too much, that's a negative symptom. If they are not sleeping enough, that's a positive symptom. In other words, you have to, like appetite. Someone who is clinically depressed will eat a lot, or sometimes they don't eat at all. Because why? They are so stressed. Their stress levels does not allow them to create this appetite for food. Okay? So sleep, sociability, appetite, and then a fourth one, which is very, very common, is that person has that person stopped enjoying the things that they once used to enjoy? If this person was an avid sport person, and then you realize you haven't seen that person on the field for a couple of weeks, you start asking yourself. If that person was a jogger, let's say that person was a good painter, let's say that person was a good baker, and you pass through the house, and you always get a slice of cookie buns, and you're passing now and you're not getting any. You start asking yourself, maybe something is not right here. Also, Sheldon, some of the symptoms that people may become a little easy for people to see or to observe is that ask that person, has that person started to give away any prized possession? There are some things that are really sacred to us that we want to hold on to, and our friends know that, our family know that. And if you start seeing that person is giving away their sneakers, their clothes, their watch, their purses, you start asking yourself, Sheldon, is there something that we should pay attention to? Sometimes someone is a youthful person and they start becoming very obsessed about making a will. You start asking yourself, is that person making plans to depart this life? And there are several others that we can talk about. Some are more pronounced than others. Yes, Sheldon.
Okay, so if we see any of these, what should we do? What should the approach be to an individual that we have identified any? In fact, we may identify multiple. It may not be just one. It may be multiple. We may see 2 or 3 they're giving away. They've been withdrawn and then they're giving away or so. So it may be multiple. What should we, the individual, have realized that? What should be our next move?
One of the things one of the things that is a fact about everyone who has ever written about suicide, who has studied suicide, and who know about suicide will tell you, Sheldon, and our dear listeners, that when a person has made up his or her mind to take his or her life, more than likely that person will take the life. Okay? You could try intervention over interventions. That person, if they are really serious and made up their mind, they are going to circumnavigate all of the interventions, all of the help that you are offering for them, and they're going to find an opportune time to take their life. However, very often what we see in practice and in research, that when people, you see, Sheldon, let me define these three things for you. There is what we call suicide ideation, okay? These are people who are thinking, boy, life is so hard. I rather not be here, you know? Why did my mother make me? You know, I am not successful. People don't like me. I don't have a career. I'm getting old. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have children. Maybe there is no reason for me. That's suicide ideation. Then there is what we call suicide attempt. That is, these are the people who very often are crying out for help. These people are crying out for help. They are saying, please, world, I am hurting. It might be mental illness. It might be a stressor from life. It might be my lack of coping skills. It might be the lack of people in my community to embrace me, to hug me, to talk. You talk tonight about talk to people. Yes, maybe nobody has greeted him or her, and they're saying, you know what, I am crying out. So they may do something that they know will not end up in taking their lives. But at least when they go to the hospital, what this Sheldon? This is a strange phenomenon we're talking about. There are people who would try to hurt themselves just so that an ambulance could come and take them, that a nurse could attend to them, doctors could attend to them, family could come and pray for them, the church pastor can come and look for them. In an attempt of suicide, you can have about 100+ people interacting with you in a day. That is someone who is crying out for help. And then, of course, the third one is actually suicide. That is where the person succeeds. Sometimes inadvertently, they succeed in taking their life. Maybe they're crying out for help and they're trying to do something to get people's attention, but it ends up in a way, the rope might not break, or the peel may not, the peel was really thick enough, strong enough, so that it takes their life. Maybe the cut on the wrist was deeper than they were planning to do, and they end up bleeding and dying. So, Sheldon, what should we do? When we see someone with more than one symptom or sign, or we see it could be just one that looks really suspicious, is to reach out to that person without accusation. A lot of times, we in Grenada, we don't have the finesse, Sheldon, unless sometimes we are trained. We don't have the finesse. We tend to think, well, it is weak for a person to cry out for help or to go see a psychologist or a therapist. We would say, man up, The woman leave you a long time ago. Listen, Sheldon, you remember last year? I think it was 21. Between 21 and 20, I think it was 21. We had two young people from St. Patrick's, Rosehill especially, who chose to take their lives. And one of them was substance use related, but the other one was because some guys on the street were teasing him because his girlfriend was being unfaithful to him. You understand what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
So sometimes we could be very insensitive in how we approach even our friends and our family. So when we see that, even if we don't have the finesse of language skills and the way a professional would address it, so ask that person to see someone. Listen, talk to a friend. Talk to your teacher in the village. Talk to your pastor. Talk to somebody in the village that may know where to find help for you. Tell them, when we look at how Grenada is set up today, we have we have scores and scores of people who have been trained. Now, granted, some of them might be at the paraprofessional level. They may be just counselors, and I don't want to use the word just. I'm so sorry for saying that. But they may not be as trained to deliver deep-seated therapeutic interventions. But there are people in Grenada working in the ministries, working in the Ministry of Education. A lot of them work in the Ministry of Social Development. There are other people who work outside of the ministries or the government, but they have made themselves accessible. There is a good bunch of people in Grenada who could offer assistance, or if they can't, know where people can get help. And that is my plea. Sheldon, when we see someone with those signs that questions whether or not they're thinking straight, they're logical in the way that they're behaving, there is an opportunity for us to get professional help. Don't pass it off as, well, he's going through this stage. Or maybe, he's going to get over the girlfriend. He's going to get over the death of his mom. No, when we see people struggling emotionally, we must step in. I want to encourage us to step in, become more of our brother's keeper, because this is the only way. You know how many referrals I get because people are calling and say, Dr. Panchu, I am seeing this in that person. Do you think I should ask them to come see you, to see somebody? Yes. And that's what I'm encouraging and I'm saying. We need to be our brother's keepers and look out for people who are struggling emotionally and socially. Yeah.
I want to add here that sometimes I think we must understand the importance of sometimes seeking professional help. People may speak to me, but if I realize it's a situation that this person needs professional help, that's when I may hand them your, because I have given several people your number over the past few months, and so I would give my number, then your number to them and say, contact Dr. Pancho. Because I think there's a stage where you realize, hey, this person really needs serious help. Yes, I could speak with them and so on, but I think that they need a little more help than I am able to offer. And therefore, I would suggest to them that they seek professional help. Don't you think don't you think you might want to speak to somebody in relation to some of these things? And no, there's nothing wrong. It doesn't mean that anything is necessarily wrong with you mentally or so, but I think you need to have a conversation with a professional in relation to this. Here's the number of somebody I know that you can trust. Speak to that individual. And that's the way I tend to approach it, and I'm wondering if that approach is the proper approach.
It is, absolutely, Sheldon. Sheldon, this is a very, very well articulated approach, and I am hoping that the hundreds of listeners to the program tonight can take a page of the way you have stated it. Yes, talk to them, because sometimes people, Sheldon, we live in a society where we think everybody got a friend, and that is not true, There are lots of people. There are single parents. There are single dads out there. People living by themselves, or even though they're living with someone else, they're lonely. The person that they're living with or living by may not be talking with them. They may be stressed out, and they just need somebody. Sometimes, Sheldon, all that person may need in the morning is, hey, what's up, buddy? Have a nice day, or give them a good smile, or to express, this dress really looks really nice. You make this dress look so nice. And that could lift somebody. Somebody could be going through an entire day or an entire week without a compliment, without somebody reaching out, even shaking the hand or saying hi to them. The only human contact they may have is when they sit on the bus and they're sitting close to somebody else. And that's a sad situation. So when we engage people, Sheldon, and they start telling us their sad story, I like the approach you have. Say to them, you know what? I understand partly what you're saying. What you're saying there might be a troubling thing. Do you think, I think you should, or it would be nice if you were to talk to a professional, someone who is trained and understand human thinking and brain function and may be able to help you. Here is a number. Here is a program to call the Ministry of Social Development. So there are several things that we can really do to help our brothers and sisters navigate this time. Children, yeah.
Yes, indeed. And folks, for any of you that would like to get Dr. Pancho's number, feel free to message me on the Talking Points WhatsApp. Yes, I've made sure that I have it at home as well. So make sure you can message me because there may be people listening to this program right now and they're struggling with something and they just need that sort of sit down. And it's not necessarily to phone. Sometimes you need to actually go and see Dr. Pancho and sit with him and talk with him and so. So we've identified what people who identify what are some of the problems, what are some of the things to look for, and we've identified what somebody who sees that should do. The individual themselves now who may not be going through, because again, I am not the expert in this area, but there are different levels of depression. Are there? Or there are different levels that you call it at.
Yeah.
So someone who is going through a hard time and so on, what are some of the coping mechanisms that people can use to deal with these things instead of just the isolation and so on? What would you suggest to somebody who is on the path? They're not quite there to the last stage yet, but they're on the path. And they have identified that they're on that path. What are some of the things the individual can do now to address this issue?
Right. Let me say this here. I think sometimes, but you see, that's the challenge because what I'm going to say is that not everybody has the social skills and the social graces and the ability to become sociable. So sometimes we need to make friends with people. We listen, Sheldon, when we go to functions, even functions of our party, you might see one or two people just standing by themselves. These are good opportunities for us as a party to, when we see that, to just befriend them, just go see what they may be just looking for a friend when they come to our function. So we must make it our duty, and that's one of the things we're going to work on, Sheldon, when we do activities again.
Of course.
One of the things that people, several things that people can do when they sense that they're struggling. One, look for a support system. Reach out. And they don't have to necessarily the first time reach out to a professional that will cost them any money, but reach out to your pastor, reach out to a teacher, reach out to somebody in the community who you think you trust and who you think will be a confidential person. Also, look for a hobby. Look for something to distract you. Sometimes we become lazy. We're struggling and we go home and we just lock ourselves in our room, rather than trying to engage. So look for an activity that we can do that we enjoy, maybe jogging, maybe taking a walk, maybe gardening, maybe listening to music, maybe taking on a little, maybe learning how to bake or how to cook or how to crochet, a dying skill that people no longer do. Get away from the digital instruments that we spend all our day working in front of the computer, answering our cell phone, and when we get home, we stop on the cell phone again, Sheldon. Here is an opportunity for us to engage in something extra that we have not been engaging in the morning or day period. Also, listening to music and engaging in dance and creativity. Really great. Take up art, take up singing, bird watching. I know you like photography, Sheldon.
Love photography.
These are good things. Yeah, and and there are some people who can, get to the store and buy some paper and some pencils and some crayons and color pencils and go do some art. So there are several little things that we can do. And let me also say, never forget, and I want our people to understand that, never forget that there is a higher power that guides and rules our lives. And that is found in, some people call it Jesus, some people call him God. I say sometimes we need to reach out in prayer, understanding that there is a power there is a phenom that is greater and bigger and wiser and more powerful than we are. And that power can help us to navigate some of life's stresses. Yes, Elder.
Now, one listener has just posed a very interesting question. He said, if your depression is from home, how do you cope?
Right.
Because that's supposed to be a safe space.
Yes.
So how do you cope?
Thank you for that question, listener. You know, when your mental health, wellness, or challenges are based, it finds its genesis, it finds its origin in home. First of all, let me quickly say, if you recognize that, Sheldon, if you recognize that the home is the source of your struggles in life, get up and go. And I'm serious here. Get up and leave. If you find it is in a relationship, if the relationship is a toxic relationship, get help and get out. If it is in family, blood family, adoptive family, neighbor family, if this is the basis for your struggles in life, then start becoming resilient, start becoming a little stronger, look for help, because sometimes it's hard for you on your own to navigate out of it. So look for help and let the help know that this is what is happening, and tell them this is what I want. I want to get out. So the biggest challenge would be to get out of toxic relationships. Very often, and let me add this here, very often when some people find themselves in toxic, depressive, anxiety-ridden relationship, but they stay, and the reason they stay is because they feel that if they leave, it is more uncertain for them. So they learn to cope in the midst of chaos, and that cannot be a happy situation. So my suggestion is stick together, pick friends and support system outside that can help you and strengthen your resolve so that you can leave those depressive and anxiety-ridden situations. Yes.
All right. And I think we're going to take about another 8 minutes, bring it up to 9 o'clock, because I know the listeners.
Because I have a few more things to talk about,
Yeah, because I know the listeners, they're listening. And there's a big topic that I see somebody message me about, they want me to talk about as well. But believe me, if I could ignore everything else and save one life tonight, I want us to save that one life. And callers, please hold off on the calls. Let me speak. If you want to ask a question, you can message. But hold off on the calls. We don't want to interrupt this thing. So callers, I know that you all are listening. Please do not call during this segment. All right, we're gonna have the time when you can call. So yes, Doc. Now you've said that, but also there is a situation where I realize, as I said, there seem to be different levels of depression. Somebody may be feeling just sad, they're having a hard week, they're feeling sad, and so in my case, what I tend to do, and I've taken that advice from another doctor I spoke to years ago. He said, sometimes you just go on the beach, take off your shoes, put your foot in the sand, and just relax. Just relax on the beach, watch the waves, take a little swim, relax on the beach, just ease your mind. Listen to the waves crashing, enjoy yourself a little bit, play with your toes in the sand and relax and that sort of thing. What advice you have for some people that are just not to the level of depression that they're ready to harm themselves, but they're just having a hard week, a hard time dealing with things?
A very good question, Sheldon. Very good question. Let me say this here. I think that as a busy population, you see, as life continues to go, and we're gonna come to a realization just now, because I want to take the conversation further into the economic and political arena in a little while. So let's just lay the basis here. You see, as people continue to struggle for survival, Sheldon, they become preoccupied with just making money or surviving. Sorry, it's not just about making money, but about surviving. Bread, butter, keeping the lights on, keeping the water on, keeping the internet for the children to do their schoolwork on. It becomes a a race to survive. So they engage themselves in every waking hour and sometimes even in sleeping hours when they should be resting and resting their mind. They remain so 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 heightened about survival. Uh, so so Sheldon, what you said about taking time off to relax, it's 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 really a medicine in and of itself. It's free medicine. You know, just walking outside, even with your feet on the ground in the dirt, is connecting at a different level. Sitting, putting your feet up in the veranda and watching the waves, even though you live far away, but you can see the ocean, or watching the sunset, or hearing. Listen, right now, if I go outside, there are so many insects that are vying for my attention. You hear them all over. Just sit down outside and try to listen and see which one becomes predominant in the noises that are outside. Just to relax. Sheldon, if we could do that, it speaks a lot. Because you see, during the day, when we are hyped up about survival, our bodies produce adrenaline and cortisol, those chemicals that keep us alive and fighting. Because survival is about fighting, right? The brain is telling us we gotta survive, we gotta pay our bills, we gotta replace that 150, we gotta sell that. So what I'm saying here is that when we get home, look for an opportunity. Maybe take a cold shower, maybe take a warm shower, or maybe just go to the ocean and swim and just float, or just walk on the sand, or listen to some music and just chill. Make that time for self to relax, to rejuvenate, and recapture a sense of well-being. Yes, Sheldon. Yeah.
And one issue here is for the people, many people out there who think that the best coping mechanism are substances. So you have the guys who, many young fellas out there, and not surprisingly, I'm sure to you, but many young ladies out there who seem to think the best coping mechanism is a substance. Either they need to smoke a cigarette or marijuana,
Yeah.
or they need to have a drink at whatever strength, but that they think that that's the best coping mechanism. Your advice in relation to that? Because some people do
Sheldon,
use that as a coping mechanism.
Yeah, Sheldon, anything that is going to help destroy our bodies, whether it is alcohol or any form of alcohol or drugs or cigarette, tobacco, anything that will destroy the body will only bring what is called temporary satisfaction. It will just ease your burden the moment you're doing it. And then when time elapses, you would realize that you're in a worse of position, and therefore you start feeling guilty about doing it, and it places you right back in the cycle of the stress that you wanted to release. So I always advise people, choose not to smoke, not to use drugs, not to involve in
Alcohol and so.
alcohol, because these things, they do not add value to your system. It does not add value to your stress. So my advice is no. Yes, yes.
Dr. Pancho, we're running out of time on this section, which is a phrase I really didn't want to use because I want the information to get out there to the general public. I want people to understand the importance of this discussion tonight and the importance of understanding, identifying, coping, and interacting, how to interact with people that they suspect may be going in that. And I don't mean watch people and say, hey, no kill you going and kill yourself there, nah? Hey, girl, stop that. Not that type of approach at all. But the approach of, hey, what going on with you? Yeah, let's have a, yeah. Hey, girl, you to see, so and so and so, and start a old talk with them. Just any old talk. Start a old talk with them and have that conversation with them. Not necessarily about what's going on with them, but start a conversation at least. It may come afterwards, but at least have the conversation. Yeah. So I thought it important to have this conversation with you tonight because we know that there are thousands listening and the message is getting out to them.
Yes. And Sheldon, before I go, I want to mention quickly two things. One,
Don't do it quickly. Take your time.
oh,
I'm giving you
okay,
a few
let me
minutes.
take my
Go
time.
ahead.
Because actually, I didn't want to rush through this one.
Yeah.
You know,
Go ahead. You
um,
go ahead.
what is very instructive? What is very instructive? We don't play with suicide. We don't play with violence. We don't take it and make mockery of it as a people. Me, especially as a professional, you as a media person, we don't use it in negative ways. But I want to say that currently we have a government. We have a government that is in charge of keeping us safe, children, and doing everything in their power to ensure that we receive the best care, we receive the best direction. And we have been having these violence, upsurge in violence. Today we buried a young man who was allegedly, killed on the beach a couple weeks ago. Yesterday we buried a young man from St. Andrews that committed suicide. No, we have two suicides. We have the night before, we have what is appeared to be another murder. And we have so many people in the current government structure that once used to be champion of people. We have several. I could call about 5 of them names who either was counselor, teacher, social service director, and they are there. And up until now, even from the prime minister level, who is the minister for national security, we have not heard a comforting word. That is what I'm talking about. We have not heard anybody taking the platform and say, let's pray, we're going to try to implement any program. And I'm saying, really and truly, here is an opportunity when our nation is in mourning for several unsolved crimes, several suicides, several violent crimes. And you heard the police again with the report. They're talking about a 2% decrease in the second quarter. But let me tell you something, the third quarter has gone more than 2%. So we are way ahead now in the third quarter than we were in the second quarter. So where is the comfort, children? This is what I'm saying. Where's the leadership that will say to our people, we understand, we feel your pain. We took away 150 from, and we have a lot of hurting families who once used to get feed for the children and no longer. They were, disadvantaged people who are blind and people who are disabled have been removed from the program. So we understand. Tell them there is a direct spin-off sociologically. I don't have to sit here and tell us tonight. Sociologically, when people are hurting economically, they resort to violence against others and against themselves also. And if we cannot see the connection, if we cannot make that analysis and come to a conclusion, we are heading down a path that is dangerous for our country, dangerous for our nation. And I'm sitting here and I am bewildered, children, that none of all the people who advocated for social justice, nobody is standing up to make a point and to say, let's do something, let's call, let's employ people with skills that can help our nation. Children, I am crying in my heart here, even though I'm speaking to you at this time.
And I know you're a person that are interested in people, because you could have easily said, listen, forget Grenada, I'm going to stay out in the States and so on. I could work for big bucks working for people out there. But here you are. I saw you yesterday and day before working with the young people. You're here.
Sheldon, that's how I want to end.
Let me make sure people know you ain't getting paid for that, eh? You may be actually using your money to do it because you ain't getting paid for it.
Let me say this, Sheldon. Sheldon, in contrast, the youth arm of the new National Party went ahead and planned without any subsidy from people, just volunteers from the constituency to pay buses, volunteers. I saw something yesterday. I was speaking to the Honorable Kate Lewis. She said, because I was wondering whether we got money to fund something. She said, no, the constituency, the people in the constituency leaders, whether it's business places or just volunteers, cook food and snacks and bus children, students. Over 100 of them in St. Patrick's on Tuesday, and 80 something plus yesterday at the National Stadium. We were there empowering young people. The Honorable Emlyn Pierre, Nimrod Oliver, his nephew, Kate, Senator Neelan, former Senator Judd, and we were there empowering young people. And you could have seen, Pastor Paul. We were there empowering young people, giving them hope. What we did for the last 2 days, Sheldon, was giving young people, almost 200 young people, parents and others, who came to volunteer and who came and stayed and listened attentively. We were empowering them, giving them hope, challenging them to be the best that they can be, giving them life history, life stories, and all these yesterday. Volunteer work, everybody putting their hands together. And I'm saying we have a sitting government who is there, and they're not coming up with anything. They're not saying anything to bring peace in this troubled time for our population.
Indeed. Dr. Pancho, I'd like to thank you, and the listeners thank you immensely for your words of wisdom, your insight, and the work that you are doing tonight and that you have been doing not just over the past few days or few months, but over the past few years for the Grenadian people. We'd like to thank you so very much. And again, I'd also like to congratulate you, because I know on Tuesdays on 91.9, 91.5, they have Mental Health Tuesdays. No other radio station has anything even close to that. Only Real FM. They have that dedicated Tuesdays, and I know you've been a guest on that program consistently a couple times and so on. So I know that you have been assisting even before any of these things happen. You're not just one of the people that something happened and then you're on it, but in the interim between the two waves, you have been there and continue to be there assisting, and we'd like to thank you so very much.
Thank you for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to always be able to serve my community and serve Grenada, and I thank God for the skills that He has given me, and I thank the people for embracing the opportunity to serve them always. Thank you so much, Sheldon. Good night, our listeners.
And next time we're doing it on Zoom. I have the Zoom thing sorted out, so next time we're doing it on Zoom.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so very much.
Let's do that.
All right, Doc.
Take care. Sure.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. What can I say again? Yeah? When you have it, you have it. Dr. Pancho, just let me call the name of one of my old programs. Spot on tonight. Yeah? And I do hope that all of you, wherever you are, that have listened the information that came out here tonight, make proper use of that information. And always remember, outside of all of this, there's this spiritual component that is very important in all of our lives. Yeah, that spiritual component that we must all cling on to. Yeah, that is very important in all of our lives. Now, folks, I'm going to take a short break because there's another person I want to try and reach. And I want to make sure that I give that individual the opportunity to call in, because we have a lot to talk about. I want to give that other individual the opportunity to call in. So let me just try to make contact with them and get them to call in. All right? Nice.
All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like this. No, no, no. All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like this. No,
Yeah, folks talking about job in parliament and all kind of thing and who's skanking in rum shop. What they're supposed to be doing is working with the young people like Dr. Pancho has been doing, Emlyn Pierre, etc. and so on. But folks, this evening I was listening to Auntie Jenny. And I say, I tell you already, Auntie Jenny doesn't take prisoners. Eh? So that's one thing I love about that lady. Or they might find me and her, you say, are we back and forth? One thing, I always respect her as a woman who has her conviction and she worked towards them. That is one thing. Always respect Jenny Simon for that. And I have somebody on the line with me because I hear Auntie Jenny talking about something. And I hear one of my mothers in the media's name was mentioned, so I had to speak to her. Good night to you, Miss Shuma Wells.
Good night, Sheldon, and good night to all your fans and viewers and listeners all across the globe. How are you?
I want to be fine, but I ain't fine after what hearing because I well plan on going Queen Show, you know. No, I done get a little dan organized already. I say I head in Queen Show because I can't go looking shabby. I say I get my thing organized. I see professional thing rolling out. Next thing I hear, all thing collapse. So what you're one of the persons mentioned. What has taken place?
Well, it is very unfortunate to see what has transpired over the last few weeks. I could speak from my perspective. I was asked by Margaret Wilkinson, actually, wanted to bring back that standard and that glamour and that, bigness to the National Queen Show and reminiscing on the days when we used to have things like tea and fashion show and what have you. And that training for the girls that was such a high standard. And she actually called in myself and Ricardo King Douglas to produce a tea show at our house, which she took care of, all the bills, and nothing to do with costing spice and everything. And we produced that. It was well received and so on. But apparently from the time I appeared, of course, I hosted the damn thing, excuse my language. It tickled quite a few people's fancy in a negative way. What is she doing there? Why is she involved? And this is the feedback that I got, However, in continuing, the young lady who runs the director on Spice Mass Board and chairperson of the Queen Show, let me just start off by saying that she's from St. Lucia. She's been living in Grenada over 5 years. And there are a lot of talk about why a St. Lucian. We just come out of a big CARICOM meeting. We talk about unity in the OECS. We talk about one people and one region. And then whenever we hear something like that, we always have a tendency to wonder why it is that we don't have a Grenadian doing it. Yeah? Mm-hmm. I don't think that is the overarching reason or condition for something like that. This is a person who's been living here for a number of years, experiencing Grenadian way of life. She had a problem with seeing where the Queen Show is going. She herself has experience in running Queen Shows in St. Lucia and in St. Kitts when she lived there, and she decided that she wants to help change the trajectory of the whole Queen Show that was going on. I met with a young lady and I was very impressed. We had a meeting. She clearly indicated at a point in time that she is not interested in any sort of politics where this is concerned, and she has absolutely no interest in who may be of what party and what have you. There is absolutely nothing political in her mind. She wants the expert. She wants the best. She wants the quality because she wants to ensure that this particular Queen Show is at a very high standard. She said that she's been hearing about the past. She's been hearing about me. And what I've done, after all, I think I ran about 9 or 10 Queen shows in Grenada or even more. Mm-hmm. Yeah? So we started a conversation. We went on to, I was asked to give the girls some training with use of microphone and voice and so on. I happened to complete one session with them, very positive. And I like what she's been doing with the girls, treating them very equally. There's no biasness that is taking place. They seem to all be operating on the same level playing field, you know. And I like that because I think that is what is needed. But my friend, they had a fashion show over 2 weeks ago or so, a Sunday, and she did ask me to host this fashion show. But you know, Sheldon, in my back of my mind, I've always been hesitant because I'm saying to myself, the backlash will come at a point in time. The expectation was very ripe, you know. Nevertheless, about 2 or 3 days before the Queen show, I got a call from someone saying to me, this is the case. Concerns about you and others. Listen to the conversation. Concerns about you and others. And I was asked if I could recommend somebody to host the fashion show, which I did. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And that was that. Now, moving along, I found out that there were a lot of backlash and confusion about Sherma Wells, about Jennifer Rapier, initially taking place, labeling us as NNT, and why are we there, and all of that, and if there's nobody in NDC. Well, I never knew the National Queen Show had a belonging to a party to start with, you know. And if I may say this at this point, Sheldon, I have worked over 40-something years in Carnival in Grenada. And that would tell you that I've worked with previous NDC government. And I've never had any stating that sort of reaction towards me. Because I operate on a professional level. I do not mix my politics with my profession, if you understand what I mean. Yeah?
Of course, yes.
I do not compromise on those. I've worked in the era of 2008 and 2015 AVMC shows. The Masquer, I recall working at the Masquer night. I think it was Uras Peters was the producer in NDC time. I've worked in Independence with NDC when Wet Paint was the chairman of the Independence Committee. He called me in to do the commentary in the back. You know? So, my friend, this is a different era. This is the transformation era that we're dealing with. I know that most people have seen that I've been very quiet. I've been in my corner watching things. Election gone, campaign over, and I'm in my corner.
So
you know,
let me ask, are we having a national Queen show, or are we having a National Democratic Congress Queen show?
Well, it would
What are
appear,
the taxpayers paying for?
It would appear that way, you know. If you're talking about unity and you're talking about togetherness, why do you want to affect Grenadians? They have to take into consideration, and Jenny mentioned it, that the percentage of NNP supporters in this country, voting and non-voting supporters in this country, larger than the NDC supporters, you know. So are you going to marginalize that greater percentage of people in your work? Come on, man. You gotta think better than that. Be smarter than that. But let me just get back to the point. The lady has been going through this for a while. As a matter of fact, I know at a point in time she indicated to them that she wants the very best. And if that cannot happen, she will resign. So she's been telling them this, you know. It turned out that she asked me, Brenda, Batiste, and Kenroy
Batiste,
because we decided that we're going to do this sort of 3-segmented MC just to bring that extra exuberance to the show. I was carded to do things like the costuming and that kind of thing to lead up to that excitement. And Brenda and Kenroy, a little bit somber, would handle the evening wear section. You know, so the plans were there, yeah. And she wanted the best. That's what she was after, the best. And in her mind, this was the best when she did her research, when she talked to people, and so on and so forth. So she was very disheartened to know that they would have just trashed all of this and talking politics. She clearly indicated to her message to us that due to political interference, she wasn't shy to state it, that she has resigned. And I understand that she received a letter from the minister that seemed to be very uphanded and asking certain questions and names.
Well,
And
you don't say this part.
accountability.
Let me say this part. I hear that the minister, being rude as he is, asked for accounting for the funds, for funds and so on, not understanding that many of the things that were taking place, that the chair had actually found funding outside to have a lot of these things done.
You know, it was a way, indirect way of saying, here we go, juke you down.
Well, in my
we don't like what you do, so we're going to juke you down. So we come in from that angle. Yes, and that is a fact. She has been able initially to find sponsorship for all the girls very, very early in the game. If people have been looking at what the process has been going on, heavy training, a number of important strategic activities. I mean, it's amazing to see. These girls are so empowered now. When you look at videos and so on from the fashion show, and you see them already at that high standard, the expectation was unbelievable for the show. You know, they've had Eddie Frederick's daughter, who is a well-known model, Grenadian model, training them. They've had Jenny's daughter doing training with them. They've had so many things going on. People coming in, counseling, this, that, and the other. You know, and the talent is ongoing with the practicing and so on and so forth. This is going to be a show of a show. I don't know what is going to happen right now, because as she pulled out, the entire group of people that have been working with her pulled out as well. The entire group. Are we talking what? 2.5 weeks to go, roughly?
Well, the thing is, no, I really feel it for the young ladies.
Well, you know,
because after all this preparation,
Sheldon,
man.
At a point in time, I wrote back to her and I said to her, not understanding where she was at the time, I said, listen, if I happen to be, and I know that I'm one of the issues, I am more than happy to pull out for the benefit of the girls, because for you to leave them now at this stage, it's going to be a hard blow for them. But she has had enough. She's had enough. They've been at her, and not only from a cabinet, but from, I understand, other directors as well. You know, why is the needling? Why does that have to happen? Why it is that you have to be so condemning of citizens of this country with expertise to give to you, regardless of it being something that people may not see as one of the big important things. But still, let me just say this. If people understand the value that young women get by participating in a national queen show, I could only speak in my time. I have seen girls excel to the top of their game, professionally and otherwise, as a result of participating in a Carnival queen show. What they would have learned, they went out and practiced it, the poise, the speaking. You look at people like as Mary Noel. You look at people like I remember this girl out of Diane Adams out of Caracou, Placid, who is now a lawyer. I mean, I could call a lot of names of young women who participated in the National Queen Show and benefited out of it in a big time. Celia Telespot.
We had one who was an ambassador recently.
Yolan Smith, for example. You understand? So what they learn is not just about going on the stage and parading in a dress and a bathing suit and what have you. The process. And I've seen these young girls this year receiving so much and benefiting so much already. I could just Grenadian citizens. And you just crushed all of that with nonsense, with political nonsense. Does that make sense?
And is the thing is that they're not even trying to hide it. They're coming out plain and say, we know what these people did is NNP. Not that you're incompetent, but not that you're incompetent, not that you're incapable of carrying out the task at hand. They don't care if the thing is a failure as long as it's only their people involved. And it goes further than just the Queen Show. There are a lot of other areas that similar behavior is taking place. In fact, in that Ministry of Youth and Culture, there is the situation where people are being told directly and indirectly, always NNP, all you have to go.
That is so sad, you know. That is so sad, and you wonder where we're heading with that kind of attitude. I feel, I mean, it matters not to me, Sheldon. You know, I've been on stage so many times in my life, but I feel very saddened for these young ladies.
Yeah, that's the one
Because
that's hurting
it's an
me.
interruption that is there, and that is what Jenny is hurt about. Because so much work has been put into these people. And the chairperson, trust me, she devoted herself, her time, and in some instances, her own private money into these girls.
And I know of that. I know for a fact that the chairwoman has done that. So after you have been spending your own money, then you have somebody that's upset with the success that you've been having apparently, and then basically accuses you of misusing government funds, misusing the funds that have been placed there for the Queen Show. So give an accounting is like you didn't wait till the end of the entire process. During the process now, you're saying you send a rude message and say, well, we find all you using money helter-skelter, and so give an accounting of the money. I find that to be very disrespectful.
Of what money? I don't think that any money is out of the coffers. I mean, I'm subjected to being corrected. Has been transferred to the committee to date, as far as I can remember. Because when you look at the major events that's been taking place, they all been sponsored. You know, the thing with the
Tea Party.
the retreat.
I know there's the retreat.
Was sponsored. The Tea Party, the fashion show. I mean, I'm not getting it. So you see, it is spiteful work, and is a case of trying to squeeze the person in a corner, make them look bad, because you don't like what they're doing. You don't like the people that they have on board. You know, they want their own people. There are a group of people here that pushing and needling this thing. I'm not going to call names. They know who they are. Yeah?
Send me the name. I go call it. You know me, I'm afraid. None of them can do me nothing.
Needling these things. And you know, when they meet you in the road, they're watching you and they're smiling sweetly, you know.
Smiling.
You know, and they don't know what you know. They don't know what I know. But you know, at the end of the day, Sheldon, this is not about me. I'm in no way affected by that. Trust me. You know me by now. I'm in no way affected by that. I feel for those girls. I feel for them because what is coming, they don't know. Who is coming, they don't know. What is going to happen is a restart. It's a restart.
And now
at
also,
24th hour.
we've also
what
heard
about
that.
the sponsors who would have invested in the process?
And we're hearing that Miss is also from that Miss Jenny Simon was even using her place for training and all sort of thing.
That's
and then
where they're being trained on Churro Street there.
And they're labeling poor Jenny, they're labeling Jenny as a NNP, you know.
Yes.
Jenny, you know. They're labeling Jenny as a NNP.
They claim that Jenny,
God.
Brenda, myself, we are, and they call two other names. We are NNP people. What are we doing there? Why she has us there? If they don't have NDC people to fill the spots, well, let them find their people and put them in there.
So therefore, they should not be expecting to use the tax money of NNP people for that show. You should only use NDC people tax money, and they do not expect NNP people to spend their money to go to that show. No, I'm just being very clear, and I'm sending the message to my NNP people directly, you know. They don't intend to use your tax money for that show if it's only NDC people should be involved. And if only NDC people should be involved, then they don't expect us to spend our money to go to that show. All right? And any sponsors who happen to be labeled as an NP as well, all you know what to do. All right.
You know, it is sad, Sheldon, because what you'll be doing there is divide and rule. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. If we are one Grenada, we talk about being one. We talk about moving into the 50th anniversary of our independence as a people, and yet, we still continue to try to divide us. We still continue to decide to split us up. Yeah?
Well, here's
We are all
this.
one people.
Miss Wells, I don't know if you heard it, but I heard it. I just never spoke about it. There was a concerted effort this year during the independence ceremony to ensure that neither yourself nor Brenda Batiste would host any of the independence celebrations. They know
Well, you know,
that when they're looking for quality, that's the direction they have to go. But there was
Well,
a concerted effort.
eh,
It was said by various people directly involved in the organization of those events that both yourself and Brenda should not be engaged for any of those activities.
well, you know, that don't bother me one bit. Don't that, that those things will make me really smile because when I do things for my country as a patriotic citizen. If you need my services, it's available. You know, and by saying you don't want me there, you're harming me. You know, what you're doing is depriving the people of this nation by getting the best that we have. That's what you're doing. And that's the bottom line. So you bring some people. I hear some of them. You're hearing tones. You're wondering what is going on there, boy. Is that really what should happen? Some of them talking out of turn. Some of them, So you say to yourself, why you spiting yourself? You're spiting yourself. Charlotte, let me tell you something. I believe in my Grenadian people. I believe in the aspect of my Grenadian people. And as long as you have a skill and an expertise, I don't care whether you GULP and NP, NDC, and NQ, and MQ, and in what have you. You are Grenadian with an expertise, and we must utilize it. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
That is how we will overcome some of this nonsense. Somebody said to me today, let us look back at Carnival over the years under the rule of the NNP and tell me where you saw interference taking place. Let me say this, Sheldon. When the previous CEO of Spice Mass applied for his job in Spice Mass, yeah? It was said openly that he was a member or supporter heavily of the NDC. He was hired. Kelvin Jacob. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing prohibiting him from getting that job because he was seen as qualified for the job.
But that's what you want. You want the best person for the job. You want the best person for the job.
You understand where I'm coming from? So to sit here and look when he resigned when NDC come in office.
And I'll say this. If the New National Party used to interfere in Carnival, Finley Jeffrey, the scholar, would have never win a Calypso crown under the New National Party. Never.
Well, we know that.
Raymond Matthew would have never win a crown under the New National Party. Biko would have never win a crown under the New National Party. If the New National Party used to interfere in the Carnival competition, but what we're seeing happening this year, and we know that Calypsonians have picked up on the trend, so all of them are actually singing songs that are attacking the New National Party. Yes, so they're attacking the New National Party with the intention that might help them get the push, the blight to go into the finals and to actually maybe even win the crown. So it's attack the New National Party, call Dr. Mitchell's name, call other MPs' name and former MPs' name, even call my name. But call those names and you might get a blight to go into the finals and so because they know of the political interference and it's glaring here. It shows up in the Queen Show. But we have to look out for it in the Soca Monarch. We have to look out for it in the Calypso Monarch, not the Marsh Gras, because it's not taking place on Sunday. We have no the Marsh Gras this year. Once it's not on Sunday, it's not the Marsh Gras.
Yeah,
It ain't that this year.
They mashed that up badly.
Yeah.
But you know, again, when you really look at it, who has been my good friend who has been the director on Spice Mass Board for a number of years during NNC and still continue to be representing Calypso. It is alleged that he's a campaigner and if not maybe a card-bearing member of the NDC. And he's been there for years on the NNC. You know, the same CEO you have in Spice Mass today, Cecil Noel. Yeah? He was on Spice Mass during NP time. I met him there. You know, so why? Why do we have to be acting in that manner at this stage in our lives? You know, you can't live and let live. You're going to spoil the whole thing because of politics.
Well,
so
even
who they sending to MC the show? The what do I call it? Attorney General? Who they sending?
they might hire Steve Harvey. Well, no, I mean,
but listen,
that's what we had to go now.
People may see this as a simple thing. People may say, that is Queen show. But that is not
it's
the message
principle.
there.
The principle behind it.
That exactly. That is not the message there. The message is the political interference. The political interference that has taken place. It's an indication when there is talk about there is no biasness and there is no this and no victimization and all that. What do you call that? Prohibiting people from being involved, or even if we want to say being hired. Yeah? It's victimization.
And there's some other happenings as well around the entire carnival as well. And one I want to mention again is that today I've spoken to several of the people who usually do vending. And they are going now and being told that there are no vending spots available, all gone. But I am yet to see the release that said, anyone interested in vending, please come into Spice Mass. So it looked like a friend thing. Or maybe along the same line, since it seems as only NDC people supposed to get things, it seems as though it could be that happened as well when it comes to vending. Because I expected to hear something or see something.
I asked a question, and I was told that the release was put out weeks ago. Where it was put out may be the question. Is it that they only use the internet platform? We have to take into consideration there are loads of people, especially people who vend and so on, who's not necessarily on the whole Facebook and these places or on the website. So these are the announcements and so on that needs to go out in the newspapers and needs to go out on the regular media houses, radio stations, etc.
And that's the thing. Most Grenadians would get their information off of the radio and so on. But the people are telling you straight up, we didn't hear anything, we didn't see anything. All we went in and they just have vending spots gone. All the vending spots gone. And with the present trend, and with them asking what is NNPites doing there, might be the same thing for vending too. What is NNPites doing there? Because I could not understand. When I heard Jenny, and while Jenny was speaking, you could hear the hurt in her voice. In fact, how she ended the program, you could tell the emotion started to get the better of her and she decided she's ending the program. I had to actually look at the time to see.
I listened to the program because you see...
And folks, look at the program when you get a chance. No, I'm telling folks to make sure to go online on YouTube and look at Simon Says. Look for the program and view it for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Always view for yourself. Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah.
When people devote their time and their energy and their expertise, and to have it just crash because of politics is sad. Now, if you recall, and she mentioned that on her program, we all know that Jenny has been a member of the NDC. We know that, yeah? Like she said, they label her as an NNP. She's not an NNP. She is not an NDC. She's left them, you know. Jenny took the opportunity to mention the fact that during the NNP time, she was given a contract to train people under MAREP in cosmetology. NNP time, and she said she recalled that when the name and so on went up to cabinet, and the PM at the time, Dr. Mitchell, indicated he's not interested in what she politics might be. She has the expertise higher. You know, I personally recall going to the hair salon when I was in GIS and filming the operations of the persons doing their final exams or whatever you call it with her in those days. You know, so where you going? You see, people sit down and talk about victimization, seldom. But when you start to compare, there's no comparison, you know. There is no comparison. Yeah? When you want to claim NNP, victimize people, and there is no comparison. It's a short year, 12 months, 13, 14 months. And look what is happening. Huh?
My goodness. Miss Sherma Wells, any final words you would like to leave with the Grenadian people tonight? I know they would like to light up the phone lines in a little while for the last 20 minutes. Any final words you'd like to, well, not final, but final for tonight, because I expect to hear you soon again.
Well, you know, I've been very quiet for a whole year.
Yeah.
And I've been very quiet, you know, but this has happened, and I thought that, yes, I should speak out on it, you know.
Yeah, the joke
but
button.
what I would say is this. There is nothing that can be done to wipe out my legacy in this country. I've served my country well. I've given over 40-something years in the cultural arena and media mix-up. And a lot of people don't know this. I have emceed every carnival show that ever passed in this country. They don't know. I've done a pan. I've done soca in the early days. I've done the Mashgra. I've done Queen Show. I've done pageant. I've done children's carnival. You name it. So to try to prohibit me at this stage does nothing to me, because I've been there, done that, and you cannot wipe that slate. It's my legacy, and nothing you can do, nothing you can say could ever deny me of that legacy. It's well written. Been tried and tested, as they would say. You know what I mean, Sheldon?
Of course.
So, I'm not worried. So if you choose not to involve me at this stage, you are not affecting me. As far as I see it, you are prohibiting my people from giving back on the expertise that they would have nurtured in me over the last 40-something years. People, go out there, enjoy yourself, stay safe, support what you want to support, and don't allow anybody to use politics to take away your joy. It's yours, experience. Have a good night, Sheldon.
Thank you so very much, Auntie Sherma.
Later.
Bye-bye. Yes, indeed, folks. And we're going to open the phone lines immediately because, you know, we have roughly 15 minutes remaining. I know a lot of you would like to call in. Cami, I got a call from you a little earlier. So, yeah, give me a call when you're ready. And the rest of you, give me a call. Yeah. You all heard two very powerful presentations by two very powerful people tonight. You've heard Dr. Panchu, so you've heard him on the issues of suicide and that sort of thing, and depression and that. And you've heard Sherma Wells. Yeah, you've heard her in relation to the issue of what has happened with the Queen Show. Listen, I actually was looking at the Queen Show, and in my mind, I started seeing Grenada again, participating in Miss World or Miss Universe, getting to that level again. Because here it is, you have some beautiful young ladies they are being trained, and you see that a serious effort was being made to uplift the standard of Queen Show, to uplift the standard, bring it back, not even back to what it used to be in days gone by, but even to surpass that, to bring it to those levels. And then you see this happening. And don't think Mr. Minister only doing that with the person who was the chairperson of the Queen Show, you know. That is a general trend within the ministry as well. That is the behavior in all different departments of government right now. That once you are a supporter or perceived to be a supporter, because poor Jenny, not because she's coming out and she's speaking on issues as she sees it now makes her NNP, but because she's perceived to be anti-NDC. They lump her as she's an NNP. So you start to attack her. What happened, Mr. Minister? You vex because she take all the bills in relation to when you sell the woman vehicle and put it up? That's what you vex for? I feel that's what he vex about, you know. He vex that Jenny day. He ain't get was using Jenny place. Jenny daughter is part of it. Jenny's part of it. Jenny probably using her own money on it as well. Yeah? All these people using their own funds, trying to get the thing done and uplift the standard when it comes to... In fact, listen, you know all you should do? Get together and have all your own Queen Show. Miss Jenny Simon, Miss Brenda Batiste, yes, Auntie Sherma, you all get together and have your own Queen Show. Yeah? Get your own Queen Show. If they want to have, instead of a national Queen Show, a National Democratic Congress Queen Show, then you all get together and have your own Queen Show. There are people in this country who believe in you all and who will help fund it. There are companies in this country who are disgusted by what Minister Ron Redhead has done and his NDC administration, that what he has done, and they will help support it. They are disgusted by them and their actions. Not just by their actions, but by them too. So they will definitely support it. So as much as possible, yeah, if you all want to get together and have your own Queen Show, do that. And to the NNP supporters out there, if they perceive people as NNP supporters, yeah, they perceive you as an NNP supporter, and they don't want you to be part of the Queen Show, then they don't want you nowhere around the Queen Show. So it means that we can buy a ticket and go because you don't want NNP people involved. Yeah? And if all you want to use National Democratic Congress money, because we know all you been going Canada and all you been going all over and coming back with money. So if all you want to use NDC money to go and have the Queen Show, then do that. But you ought not to use our money. As taxpayers, you're not supposed to use our money to have the Queen Show because we's NNP. You don't want NNP involved in it. So you're not supposed to use our tax dollars in it. And in the same way, Minister Redhead, that you're asking for accounting for funds and all this kind of thing, please inform your dear leader that when the new National Party asks in relation to the finances in relation to travel, that they should answer. The same way you want to find out how they're spending money for Queen Show, we want to find out how they're spending money for traveling. Yeah? We would like to know how you all have been spending your funds in relation to traveling. Not your funds, our funds in relation to traveling. We've got a call online. Good night.
Good night, Sheldon.
Hi, good night, my dear.
Good night to the members of the Talking Point family.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead. You're live.
Well, when I'm really, you know when, overseas. we out here. Sheldon, these people are afraid of something. They know definitely they have not done any program. They have not done anything on their own for Grenadians to say this is their own and they could score them out of a 10. In a matter of fact, according to somebody, they score nothing out of nothing, or the song says that is nothing. Because you know what? The Queen Show, they're looking out to tell us, okay, let's do something to make it look as if it's we people do it and this is it, whatever it is. We are all Grenadians. We are all Grenadians at the end of the day. and they're cutting themselves short of victory. They're cutting themselves short of any kind of a anything that to glorify them. They're just ridiculous as a government. They're careless, they're senseless, they're irresponsible, and as the mosquito man normally say, or as we know it, they're incompetent. So you know what? It's about time the people start speaking up. The ones that have voted for them, that have convinced their family, and that have threatened their family to vote for the National Democratic Congress. This is your time to save your name, save your legacy, save your family by telling them to start speaking up, because we have a government that does not care about the people and the people's well-being. And when that happens, it means that we already reject you. We ain't waiting for 5 years to come. We have a mind already made up. On the day of election, we're just going to get ready, do what we have to do, get registered, and go to the poll and put them out. And that's about it, Sheldon.
All right. Thank you so very much, caller.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. 440-7377. That's 440-7377. That's the number for you to call and get onto the inside. We have roughly about 9 minutes remaining. Yeah, tonight's program was information heavy. Right, so we have roughly about 9 more minutes remaining on tonight's program. And again, I'd like to thank you so much, Dr. Pancho. If that message gets through to one person and saves them tonight, I will be a happy person, yeah? And I know you will be as well. And also to you, Miss Sherma Wells. Sometimes I call her moms, yeah? Because starting off in the media and so, it's people like Sherma Wells and so. And I don't think you can ever count the contribution that she has made to several sectors here in Grenada. Not just Carnival and so, but the media as well, yeah? Many of the people that you see working in the media, they came through her hands, yeah? People like her and Mr. Andre Donald. A lot of people that talk about media and all kind of things. You see, when it comes to Sherma Wells and Andre Donald, and the amount of young people and not so young people that pass through their hands in the media right now, they can't kill the historical precedent that they have set. We have a caller online. Good night.
Good night, Brother Scott.
Hey, how are you doing, sir?
I've been listening to Jenny earlier on, and I listened to you.
Mm-hmm. Go right ahead.
But you know, one thing I have to say, Senator Scott, Ron is right for what he's doing. Because we have a leader who have no control over his ministers. No control whatsoever. You understand? And remember, I go back to the revolution. That's all when we go back to the revolution. The same thing. Morris had no control over those boys. Them young boys around him. I'm telling you. And the same thing happening again. Every living thing, the Prime Minister defending these boys. You understand? Run, check, people letting me go and sell it. And still the Prime Minister defend Ron. He's not supposed to be there. So you have a right to do what you want. What you're getting involved with the women and the Queen Show for? Queen Show was a boss for how much years now, Sheldon? You hear, see this woman and them get together, the woman select the best people she could get to run the thing. You know? And this little boy, because he's a little boy. You understand what I mean? There's no respect for Ron. You understand? He didn't have a bank book, he didn't have nothing, not even a bank account. Up to now, all they can declare what these guys and them have. You understand? So it's a shame. And people around the world is listening to that. And it's a shame, as we as Grenadians, to know we're taking the politics and shoving to every little thing. And it's not good for our country. It's not good. And Mr. Prime Minister, you get out there and try and deal with the issue. Uncle Tilly would have still get up and say that can go on here. So you can't continue like that, Mr. Prime Minister. We don't want to see you in the airport when you're coming down and play everybody line up and run and hug you like Santa Claus. Not that the Grenadian people want. They want it, they put you there to manage the country. And they look forward to see you managing this country. Come on, Mr. Prime Minister. The buck stop with you. Not running them. Now these little boys, they beg you to shuffle your cabinet. When you go do it, you shout out no. So when this thing going to end, Mr. Prime Minister, the party is over. Stop campaigning. You're coming abroad and look for money for NDC, not for the Grenadian people and the government. You know? And you have to stop that. I ain't saying you can't go and look for money for NDC, but not on the back of Grenadians. Not on the back of this government. You could do that on your party whenever you want, but not on the government. And when you come back, you just come back, you don't tell us nothing. You're not telling the Grenadian people nothing. And you're gone again. Mr. Prime Minister, stop that. That's going to end up in a revolution. The Grenadian people is sleeping. Please don't wake them up. And that's all I got to say at this time. Bye, Sheldon.
All right, my brother. And folks, I could probably take one more call, a quick call. I could take one more if the person calls within the next 30 or so seconds. I might be able to take one more call. All right. Hey, Ozzy. Good night, bro. Yeah, this the kind of thing. When you're talking about jab in Parliament, I mean, I was taking a thing as a passing comment, and you know, okay, it's a fun program and it's a joke they're making and thing, but no, they're actualizing their nonsense. Yeah? They're actually putting their stupidity into practice. Because for you to have the best people for the job and refuse to use the best people for the job, you want lackeys and brown nosers. That is what you want. To carry out a particular task that you know, not your guess, not your think, but that you know there are better suited people for. And you've seen what they have been able to do thus far. People like Brenda Batiste, quality, everybody knows that. Shoma Wells, quality, experience, everybody knows that. You're looking for somebody with class, with taste. You're speaking Jenny Simon. Everybody knows that. Yeah? But yet still, you ain't want them because they anti. As far as you're concerned, Shoma hasn't said anything, but she anti. What's she doing there? What them doing there? Like, I don't know, maybe they come from outer space, maybe they're not Grenadians. I am pretty sure all three neighbors stringberry here. I know under what tree, but I know all three of them are sure the neighbors stringberry right here in this country. But yet still, you want to treat them as though they are second-class citizens. And that, my friends, is the general behavior of the National Democratic Congress since coming into office. They want to treat everybody who they perceive or who they know or who speaks out as a supporter of the new National Party, or once you're even just perceived as a non-supporter of the Congress. They want to treat you as second-class citizens in your own country. So now not only are you not supposed to work, because you see how they're sending home people left, right, and center from all ministry, this, that, the other. So not only are you not supposed to work, you are also now not even supposed to take part of your own free will. You're spending your own money to try and help with something. But now you're treated as a second-class citizen in your own country to help uplift the standard of something on a national level. They don't even want you to take part. That is how small-minded Ron Redhead, Deacon Mitchell, and the entire clan and crew, because none of them speaking out against it. None of them are coming and step out a line and say, well, no, I don't agree with this. You all need to fix that. None of them are saying, don't do that. So that is how Ron Redhead could feel okay to just send an email and try to embarrass people who've been working and getting something done. Meanwhile, he's sitting tail down there, getting $24,000 extra a year that he don't have to pay a single cent tax on. He's sitting tail down there and have nothing Nothing to show for the year that he has spent in office. Nothing. What achievements has the Ministry of Youth been able to achieve? What are they show? How much young people they engage? You seen what the NNP doing in opposition? What has he done? Nonsense. Yeah? Folks, the only way for Grenada to progress is for us to get rid of the Congress. That's the show for tonight, folks. It's been wonderful being here with each and every one of you. You know I love you all unconditionally. My name is Sheldon Scott. I'm heading out. I'd like to thank each and every one of you who have contributed to the program for this week, those who have called, those of you who have sent information into the program, those of you that have contributed in whichever way. Before you all leave, remember to like and share the program. I want to make sure that the YouTube is up to 100, the Facebook is up to 100, especially for tonight. Make sure that you all like and share. And those who sign off already, message them and tell them, hey, come back. Like and share the program. Those of you listening to the program tomorrow, and so on, like and share the program. Okay, that's all the time we have for Talking Points tonight. It's been wonderful being with you this week. And in everything you say and do it safe and secure. We want to be speaking to you. We want to be speaking with you. Yes, we want to speak with you. If you need somebody to speak to us. We want to be speaking with you. And we definitely, please, we don't want to have to be speaking about you. That's all the time we have for tonight. I am out. Let me play my new theme song for the, yeah.
Na, 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 na. Hey, yo, what you come here for? What you come here for? What you come here for? What you come here? What you come here? What you come here for? All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like peace. No, no, no. All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like peace. No, no, no. This is our party in here. We having our time, don't stop. We everybody breaking away. Check the unity inside here. Tell them we don't want no trouble. This party is decent people. If you ever thinking evil, inside there is ready not for you. All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like peace. No, no, no. All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like peace. No, no, no. That's right. You dress and you ready to party. Look, you have a knife from your belly. Rude boy that is plain enough to see. You come here to kill somebody. It's time that you stop that nonsense. We come here to enjoy ourselves. Leave hatred right there on top the shelf. This party is no violence. All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like peace. No, no, no. All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like peace. No, no, no. Na 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 na. Hey, yo. Na 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 na. Hey, yo. What you come here for? What you come here for? What you come here for? What you come here? What you come here? What you come here for? All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like peace. No, no, no. All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like peace. No, no, no. That's right. The party park up like shingle.